I flatlined for 11 seconds in the ICU. When I woke up, the nurse asked if I wanted to call my family, but he didn't know they were in Maui. I found out from a note they left by my bed, "Gone for 12 days, hope you're better when we get back." So, I waited. I healed in silence, then sold the house, drained my accounts, and disappeared. When they came back, I was already gone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. And also, what's one life lesson that everyone should hear before it's too late? Share it in the comments below. Thanks. The first thing I remember after waking up was the sound of the flatline on the monitor, followed by the sharp pain in my chest when they shocked me back to life. I didn't know what day it was, but I sure knew my body hurt. My mouth was so dry, I couldn't even ask for help. The nurse, Carlos, had kind eyes but looked really shaken up, like he wasn't expecting me to wake up at all. I tried to ask where my daughters were, but all he said was, "Just rest, Mrs. Whitaker." That night, after the shift change, I overheard Carlos talking on the phone. He didn't think I could hear, but I did. "Yes, ma'am, she's stabilized. No, she's conscious now. Would you like to speak to her?" There was a long pause. Before he said, "Got it. Just thought you'd want to know." Lying there, blinking under the harsh hospital lights, I tried to process that my own daughter wouldn't even take the call. My chest tightened, and it felt worse than when I had the stroke. I spent 8 days in the ICU. No visitors, no flowers, no calls. Nothing. When I was finally released, Carlos was the only one who offered to wheel me out. He looked embarrassed doing it. I had to take a hospital van back home and, when I got there, I had to wait outside for 20 minutes because someone had taken the key hidden in the ceramic frog. When the door finally opened, it wasn't my daughter, Kelsey, or Aaron, it was Rick, my son-in-law, holding a Starbucks cup. He acted surprised to see me and stammered something about a flight delay, saying they were planning to check on me tomorrow. But when I walked inside, everything felt off. The furniture was rearranged, the walls half-painted, and my wedding photos were packed up like junk. On the dining table was a real estate flyer with a picture of my house on it. It said, "Charming southern home, ideal for young families." I hadn't agreed to sell my house. I hadn't signed anything. Then, I saw it, a folder on the kitchen counter, open to power of attorney paperwork. My signature was there, dated from 2 years ago, when I had a minor surgery. They had used that to start clearing out my stuff while I was unconscious. I sat down on the floor, unable to stand. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, I grabbed Erin's old iPad that was plugged in near the pantry. It still worked, and I saw that she had left her messages open. That's when I read it. "House goes on MLS Monday. If she's not home yet, we'll start the assisted living intake." Let's be honest, Mom was never good at boundaries. That's when it hit me. My own daughter had written that. They were trying to erase me like I was just something to get rid of. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood up, went to the pantry, and grabbed the shoebox where I kept emergency cash. I also grabbed my handwritten ledger, where I'd kept track of passwords since 1998. If they thought they could just pack me off to a nursing home and sell my life, they were wrong. They clearly forgot who raised them. The next morning, I waited until Rick left for some fake errand, then I went straight to what used to be the guest bedroom, but now looked like a storage room. Half of my clothes were folded on the bed, some in donation bags. My dresser drawers were empty. They hadn't even bothered to ask me what I wanted to keep. That's when it hit me again, this wasn't a misunderstanding. They weren't preparing to help me recover, they were preparing to get rid of me. I took the iPad again and found more texts. Aaron had messaged Kelsey from the airport, "Once Mom's house sells, we'll have room to breathe." Room to breathe? From me? The woman who raised them, worked 2 jobs after their father died, took on their debt when Rick's business failed, and watched their kids every summer for free while they went on vacation. That's when I knew. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I sat down at the kitchen table, opened the file folder again, and looked closer at the paperwork. The power of attorney they had used wasn't the one I thought it was. It was a broader one that Kelsey had rushed me to sign while I was still groggy from hip surgery, saying it was for insurance. I remember signing it, thinking it didn't matter much at the time. But now, it was being used to take apart my life. I called the lawyer who did my original will, James Pute. He used to be one of my students and now ran his own law firm. I told him everything, and he listened quietly before saying, "You're not the first, Ellie, but we can fight this." He had me come in right away, helped me go through the document, and confirmed what I was hoping for, the power of attorney. Didn't include the ability to sell property without my permission. They were jumping the gun, he said. If I moved fast, I could turn this around. I did exactly that. James filed papers to cancel the power of attorney and give me back control. We started preparing the house to sell under my name, but I wasn't trying to save the house. I wanted to get everything out of it before they did. That night, I stood in the doorway of the living room, the place where we always put up the Christmas tree. I looked at the small mark in the carpet where the couch used to be. I told myself this would be the last time I ever looked back. I wasn't just leaving the house. I was leaving behind the idea that they were still my family. They weren't. They had become strangers in familiar faces. And the worst part? They thought I didn't have the strength to walk away. I didn't waste time trying to confront them. There was no point in shouting at people who had already stopped listening. I wasn't going to sit around and let them pack me off like I was some old couch they didn't want anymore. James worked quickly. Within 3 days, the house was officially under my name again, and the sale was back on track, but this time, under my control. I changed the locks first. Then I told Rick through the Ring camera to come pick up his tools before I donated them. He didn't even argue. He just grabbed them and left, leaving the gate open like the coward he was. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even James. I sold everything except the photos I cared about, my late husband's watch, and a box of childhood drawings the girls made when they still remembered how to love. The house closed in 11 days, cash buyer, no contingencies. I walked into the bank, closed every account they had access to, and opened a new one at a different branch under a different name, Nora Whitman, my grandmother's maiden name. I cashed out the rest as money orders and kept them in a locked travel pouch under the passenger seat of my car. My car was the last thing I kept. No one cared about a dusty silver Corolla, and that was the point. The night before I left, I sat in my empty living room on a folding chair, eating a peanut butter sandwich off a paper plate. I wrote 2 letters, one to each daughter. I didn't blame them directly, but I said, "You taught me who you really are. Thank you for the education." Then, I left the letters on the counter, unplugged the fridge, and took the spare house key from the ceramic frog in the yard. By sunrise, I was out of Charleston, driving north on I-95 with no GPS, no destination, and only myself to rely on. I wasn't running away, I was removing myself. There's a difference. They wanted a life without me? Now they were going to get it. By the time I crossed the state line, I'd burned through half a tank of gas, 3 diner coffees, and whatever sadness I had left. I didn't stop until I reached a small town called Elkport, a place I picked randomly off a billboard that said, Elkport Library, voted friendliest place in Maine. That was enough for me. I checked into a rundown motel, paid cash for a week, and told them my name was Nora Whitman, retired librarian from Roanoke, Virginia, widowed, childless, and looking for a fresh start. It was the version of me I had become. The scariest part? It was so easy to slip into that new life. No one questioned me. In a town like that, people just assumed I was running from something, and they respected me more for it. I found a small trailer for rent behind a bait shop, fully furnished, $580 a month, no lease required, as long as I paid in cash. The man who showed it to me, Jim, didn't ask any questions. I didn't answer any questions, except the ones that mattered, like, do you smoke? I didn't, and that was enough. I bought groceries from a small local store, got a library card under my new name, and started volunteering twice a week. Shelving books. In less than 2 weeks, I became a familiar face, just the quiet lady with the southern accent and calm hands who always remembered to ask how your mom was doing. That's when I met Lily, a 27-year-old waitress with a tired smile and a daughter named Emma. Emma took to me right away, like I was the missing piece of her puzzle. After the 2nd week, she started calling me Nana Nora. I didn't correct her. I helped Lily babysit sometimes, told her I used to be a teacher, and helped Emma learn to read past her grade level. Slowly, the days got easier. I kept a small notebook under my pillow where I wrote down every lie I told, just in case I needed to remember who I was supposed to be. No children, no Charleston, no Kelsey, no Aaron. Just Nora and her quiet little trailer by the marsh. But at night, when I was alone, I would sometimes wake up gasping. Not because I was scared, but because I was so afraid someone would knock on the door and say my real name out loud. I wasn't grieving anymore, I was hiding. Even though no one had come looking for me yet, I knew someone eventually would. Back in Charleston, the moment my daughters stepped off the plane and pulled into the driveway, expecting to find everything still in place, it all started to unravel. Kelsey called first, and when it went to voicemail, she sent a text, "Hey, we're back. Can we come by tomorrow to go over logistics?" I didn't answer. By the time they noticed the locks had been changed, the for sale sign was gone, and the mailbox was full of final notices and bank closure confirmations, panic set in. Aaron called James, who very politely told her he could no longer speak with them. When she showed up at his office, he wouldn't even buzz her in. Rick went around to the back of the house, trying to see if there was anything still inside, but it was empty, no furniture, no photos, not even a nail left on the wall. That same night, they called the police and filed a missing persons report. But the detective wasn't buying the urgency of it, especially after Rick let it slip that they had been in Maui while I was in the ICU and admitted they hadn't visited me once during my 8-day stay. Within 48 hours, the story leaked. First, through Mrs. Jenkins, my neighbor, who always hated Kelsey's smugness. Then through a local Facebook group where someone posted, "Anyone know where Ms. Whitaker went? Her family listed her house while she was in the hospital." The comments exploded. One person lined up the real estate flyer with my hospital records. Another pulled public data to show that I had been fighting for my life while they were on vacation. The outrage wasn't just online. It turned real when a local reporter showed up at their lawn, and soon a bigger news outlet picked it up as a human interest story. Suddenly, Kelsey, the golden child, was being swarmed in the Trader Joe's parking lot by people calling her a monster. Erin tried to cry her way through a news interview, saying, "We thought she was fine. We never expected her to leave." But the viewers weren't buying it. The interview was reposted on TikTok with a remix of her quote next to footage of sunbathers in Maui, captioned "Vacation Vultures." People started tagging Dr. Phil, calling for elder abuse investigations, digging into Rick's bankrupt business history, and speculating that maybe I hadn't disappeared at all. Maybe I had finally gotten smart. The more they panicked, the more silent I stayed, tucked away in my quiet main trailer, watching it all unfold on Lily's old laptop when she wasn't around. I saw the comments calling me a hero, a legend, grandma gone ghost. I didn't feel triumphant, though. I felt safe. I felt invisible. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know anyone a thing. It had been almost 2 months since I left Charleston, and I was starting to believe that maybe the world had moved on without me. The news cycle had quieted. My name hadn't trended in weeks, and I'd slipped comfortably into a rhythm that didn't involve constantly looking over my shoulder. Most mornings, I was at the library. Afternoons, I helped Lily by watching Emma while she picked up shifts. At the diner, Emma had fully adopted me as her second mom without question. When her 7th birthday came around, I helped bake cupcakes and decorate the small VFW hall across from the diner. It wasn't anything fancy, just streamers, store-bought pizza, and a folding table covered with mismatched paper plates, but it was perfect. Emma asked me to sit next to her while she opened gifts, and when someone handed me a party hat, I put it on without thinking. One of the moms, a young blonde who always posted everything, started filming Emma unwrapping presents. It was just a 30-second clip for Instagram, nothing special, except I was in the shot the whole time. I was smiling, handing over presents, even helping Emma read a card from her classmate. It didn't seem like anything at the time, but 3 days later, while I was browsing library returns, Lily burst in, her phone shaking in her hand. "Nora, you need to see this right now." The video had been reposted by a mommy blog and then picked up by a TikTok account. They crossed the birthday footage with old news clips from the Charleston scandal. The caption was brutal: "Found her, Grandma Ghost is alive and well in Maine. She changed her name. She's got a new family. And we love her even more now." My stomach dropped. Comments flooded in. Some people praised me, calling it a legendary move. Others accused me of abandoning my real family, painting me as the villain. Suddenly, my face was everywhere again. And worse, the video tagged the town I was in. I sat down hard on the floor behind the returns desk, my heart thumping like it had in the hospital bed, helpless and wired up. Lily knelt beside me and asked, "What's going on?" For the first time, I told her the truth. My name's not Nora. It's Eleanor Whitaker. And I didn't run away from a family, I escaped. 1. Lily didn't ask any more questions. She didn't judge. She just nodded and said, "Okay, so what do we do now?" That's when I knew I had to stop hiding. Not because I wanted to, but because someone was coming. I didn't sleep that night, not out of fear, but because I knew what was coming and I didn't want to waste another second pretending I was safe. By morning, the video had over 1 million views. People were even speculating I faked my stroke just to get revenge. Funny how the world flips you from victim to villain the moment you take your power back. I turned off the Wi-Fi, cleared the browser history, and stuffed everything I owned into 2 duffel bags, just in case I had to disappear again. But before I could figure out where to go, I saw the silver Toyota with South Carolina plates creeping past the library parking lot like a shark in shallow water. I knew it was Erin before I even saw her face. She parked too neatly, like she was still trying to earn a gold star. She stepped out in jeans and a cardigan, like we were meeting for brunch, not after months of public humiliation. She stood by the entrance holding a paper coffee cup, looking like she hadn't slept in weeks. I watched her from behind the stacks for 5 minutes before stepping outside. When I did, she didn't speak right away. She just stared at me like she was trying to confirm I was real. Finally, she said, "Mom, please don't walk away." Her voice cracked when she said "Mom," and for a second, I felt the old instinct to comfort her. But I didn't move. She stepped closer. "You're not a ghost. You're not done. You can come home." I looked her in the eye and said, "I already did the funeral. You just weren't there." She flinched like I slapped her, and for a moment, I thought she'd lash out or try to justify it, blaming Rick or Kelsey or the doctors or whatever excuse she had prepared. But she didn't. She just stood there holding the coffee, like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "We didn't know," she whispered. We thought we were helping." I laughed, loud and ugly, the kind of laugh that says, "You don't get to rewrite this. You left me alone in a hospital to die," I said. "And when I didn't, you tried to box me up like expired furniture. Don't say you didn't know. You knew exactly what you were doing." She started to cry, quietly, like she was trying to hold it together for the camera. I let her stand there in it for a minute before I said, "I'm not coming back, Aaron. I found a new life. A better one. One that doesn't involve pretending we were ever okay." Then I turned and walked away. Not fast, not dramatically. Just enough to show her this wasn't a performance, it was closure. The kind she never gave me. The envelope appeared in the return slot at the library, addressed to Nora. I recognized the handwriting right away, it was hers. But I didn't open it right away. I left it sitting on my kitchen table for 2 nights because I didn't know if I was ready for more apologies or if I just wanted to burn the whole thing. When I finally opened it, though, there was no letter from her. Instead, it was a letter from me. My handwriting, my words. I'd written it while I was in the ICU, shaky and scared, on the back of a patient form because I didn't think I was going to make it. It started with, "If I don't wake up, just know I forgave you already. But if I do, please come. I'm scared." The moment I saw those words, I remembered every single one of them. I had begged Carlos to give it to one of the nurses just in case they showed up. Later, he told me he put it in my things when no one came to visit. I guess someone found it when they were going through the house. Aaron must have read it after seeing me in Maine. Now, here it was, back in my hands like a ghost. I didn't cry. I didn't fall apart. I just read it. Once, then again. Then I folded it up and tucked it into the notebook where I kept all the fake details of my new life, right next to the page that said, "No contact, peace." The next morning, Kelsey emailed the library. I didn't know how she got the address, but her message was short, "I'd like to come, just once. No Rick, no cameras, just me." I stared at the screen for a long time, not sure what to do. But something in me, maybe stubbornness or curiosity, typed back, "One visit. That's it. Bring the letter with you." I wasn't sure what I wanted from her, maybe nothing. Maybe just to see her face when she realized I wasn't the sick, predictable mom she left behind. I was a woman who had buried her grief and built something new. When Lily got home that night, I told her Kelsey was coming. She didn't say much, just nodded and asked if I wanted her there. I told her no. This visit was mine to handle. Kelsey showed up on a gray Saturday morning, dressed like she was going to a fancy brunch, white blouse, perfect jeans, heels that were totally wrong for walking on gravel. She was nervous, constantly checking her watch like she had somewhere else to be, even though she didn't. We met at the cemetery just outside town, the one I'd passed by 100 times but never entered. I chose that spot because it was quiet and neutral, and no one lies when they're near someone who can't answer back. I was already sitting on the bench next to Frank's headstone when she walked up, clutching a tote bag like it was a shield. For a moment, I saw the teenager she used to be, the one who sat with me in hospital waiting rooms while we prayed her dad would make it through chemo. She didn't say hello. She just handed me the envelope and sat down a few feet away, like she thought I might hit her. I opened the envelope and saw the ICU letter again. This time, it was covered in margin notes, things she'd written in blue pen in response to every line I'd written when I thought I was dying. "I'm sorry, Mom. I was scared," she'd written, looking down at her hands. She whispered, "I didn't know how to deal with watching you get weak." I let the silence sit between us, thick and heavy, before I said, "I didn't need you to be strong. I needed you to show up." She nodded like she'd told herself that 100 times already. "You think I don't hate myself?" she asked. "You think I sleep at night?" I turned to face her and said, "I think you sleep better than I do." I did, wondering why my daughters couldn't be bothered to hold my hand while I bled in a hospital bed. That's when she started crying, really crying, not fake or for show. Just raw, embarrassed tears, wiping her face with her sleeve like she didn't want the sound to reach Frank's grave. "We were selfish," she said. "We thought we had time." I looked at the stone and replied, "So did he." I didn't forgive her, not out loud, not even in my head. But I didn't scream either. I just told her the truth. You and Aaron are grown women. You made a decision. You don't get to spin that now just because people saw what it looked like. She asked if she could visit again. I said no. She asked if she could send letters. I told her she could, but only to Lily's P.O. box, and I wouldn't promise to read them. When Kelsey got up to leave, she reached out for a hug. I stepped back. Not mean, just firm. That part of me, I said, you already buried. And this time, I get to choose the funeral. The next morning, I sat at the small table in my trailer, holding a fresh piece of notebook paper, the same kind I'd used for fake details and old passwords. I wrote one last letter, but not to Kelsey, not to Aaron, and not even to Frank. It was to myself. You did it, I wrote at the top, simple and true. You got out. I listed everything I'd left behind, a house that felt cold, a name that no one remembered, and a family who thought blood was enough to guarantee loyalty. Then I wrote down everything I'd gained: quiet mornings, real conversations, a child's laugh that didn't come with strings, and a woman named Lily who saw me for who I was now, not who I once was. I folded the letter, sealed it up, and wrote on the front in big letters, Nora Whitman, keep it. It went into a shoebox under the bed, along with Emma's drawings and the only photo I had left of my daughters, taken long before they even knew what inheritance meant. That afternoon, I helped Lily trim the hedges on her porch. When Emma ran up, holding a chipped seashell and shouting, "Nana, look what I found," I didn't flinch at the name. I just smiled and said, "Perfect. Let's go build something with it." We sat on the sand for an hour, stacking shells and laughing. Not because everything was fixed, but because I finally understood. I didn't need to heal it all to feel whole again. I didn't check the news, I didn't open the mailbox. And I didn't wonder if another letter would come. The story they tell about me now? It's not mine anymore. It's theirs to tell, and the world's to decide what to believe. But here, in this town with no past and no expectations, I'm not Eleanor Whitaker, the abandoned mother, or the scandalized grandma. I'm just Nora. And this time, I decide who gets to call me anything else.